Okay. Good morning, everyone. We are now live on YouTube. Welcome to today's hearing for the Slippery Slope Coffee at 78 St. Mary's Road in Ealing. I'd like to ask those people who are present and intending to speak to introduce themselves, please. Can we start with the those that are representing the applicant first, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, my name's Sarah Lefebvre. I'm the barrister instructed to represent the applicant. I'll introduce those others who are with me. I have Amanda Shanks and Jeremy Shanks of the applicant. Also present, though I'm not expecting him to speak, is my solicitor, Felix Falconer, but I will do the majority of the speaking, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Anybody else intending to speak? Right, if that's the case, let's proceed. I will explain what the procedure is and then we can carry on. Right. Welcome to today's hearing. My name is Councillor Jemu and I shall be chairing the meeting. My colleagues, Councillor Bacalini and Councillor Ball, and I comprise of today's subcommittee. Jack Roberts, who is the clerk to the subcommittee, will be minuting the meeting. Atun Zeb is the legal advisor to the subcommittee, and Musawar Khan is the business support and licensing processing officer. Will introduce the report. In accordance with the procedure, I shall invite the licensing officer to introduce the report and provide clarification on any factual issues. I will then invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions and call any witnesses. I will invite those who have made representations or objections to make the representations and answer any questions and call any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing of the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and the committee democratic services officer, will retire to consider his decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting. We will decide the time at the end of the meeting, if that's okay, depending on how long we take. We are expecting it to be about 12:30, but we will see accordingly. And if the panel cannot reach a decision today, you'll be notified in writing within 5 working days of the panel's decision. Okay, in these cases, normally we invite the licensing officer to present the case, please. Musawar Khan. Thank you,
Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Musawar Khan. I am the Licensing, Processing and Business Support Officer for the London Borough of Ealing. The applicant, Slippery Slope Coffee Limited, has made an application for a premises license in relation to Slippery Slope Coffee, 78 St. Mary's Road in Ealing, W5 5EX. Initially, there were 2 representations that were made for this application. However, since then, one of the representations from Anne Chapman on behalf of the Walpole Residents Association was withdrawn. So as of now, there's currently 1 representation that has been made for this application by an interested party. The licensable activity hours that have been applied for are as follows. The supply of alcohol for on and off the premises is from Monday to Saturday, 1000 hours to 2200 hours, and on Sunday from 1000 hours to 1900 hours. The subject premises will be a coffee shop with food offering and providing alcohol, and the premises is not located within a special policy area as defined in the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy. Please also note that the police conditions have been agreed with the applicant after the report was drafted, and I can email these to yourselves if you require them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now invite the applicant to present their application. Sarah?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And just on one point of clarification in response to your licensing officer, we have amended the application for Sundays so as to start at 11 o'clock That brings the application in line with your policy hours, and that was an express agreement with the Residents' Association. Against that single point of clarification, yes, this is an application made by a small family-run business represented today by Amanda and Jeremy Shanks. They live very locally indeed, in fact, 2 or 3 streets away, about 8 minutes walk away from the premises, which it's hoped will be ready to open at the very beginning of October, or all things being well. What's proposed is a small, some might say tiny coffee shop at 78 St Mary's Road. It's capable of accommodating 15 customers inside and a further 8 in the rear garden. You have in your materials, and I know you'll have read these very carefully, so I'm certainly not intending to recite them, but within the materials you have at page 25 of the main agenda papers the footprint of the premises, and then an area plan at pages 26 to 27. In the additional materials that we put together, I know was circulated, there include images of the frontage of the premises as it stands at page 30, a lengthy brochure with some imaging and architect's drawings at pages 33 to 46, and a sample menu offering at pages 47 to 50. You, Madam Chair, and your colleagues will know the area far better than me, though possibly not as well as the Shanks family, and will know that this is a busy road. It's a listed area. It was necessary to get permission even, I think, to change the colour of the frontage of the premises. So it's a premises that is heavily and rightly regulated and cared for by the council, both within the licensing process and more widely. What I hope you take from those images and the extent of the preparation for this hearing is that this is a careful, responsible, considered applicant who is investing a very good deal of time, care and attention in this new venture. As part of that exercise of responsibility, in advance of making the application, and indeed throughout the application process, they worked with the responsible authorities, as you've heard in particular with the police, to produce a package of initial conditions which were developed in the life of the application with the valuable assistance of the police, and which appear at the first 2 pages of the additional circulated material circulated on our behalf. The net effect of that work is that there was no representation at any time from any responsible authority at all, raising any objection or concern about the proposals in this application. As you've heard, there were originally 2 applications, and I hope you've seen in the correspondence that, as you would expect from an applicant of this type, the liaison continued with a view to explaining and expanding on the application and seeking to ameliorate the concerns where it was possible so to do. The net effect of that work has been that the Residents' Association have professed themselves content enough to withdraw their representation entirely. There was the reduction by an hour of hours on the Sunday, and the proposed inclusion by way of condition of the availability of substantial food at all times that the premises were to be open. So that leaves a single outstanding representation that's made by a directly neighbouring business, through which Dr. Singh expresses concern about hours, the lateness of the hours, and a perceived potential for associated nuisance. Now, this applicant would never be dismissive at all of any express concern, but we would say to you that the position and the silence of all of the responsible authorities is significant here, as your sources of expertise as to likely impact. If they or any of them had considered that there was any real as opposed to imaginary or really purely hypothetical risk of negative impact, it is frankly inconceivable that they would have remained silent in the course of this application process. That's partly a function of the scale and the nature of the proposal, and partly probably a function of the way in which the applicant's gone about crafting and restricting its application. Dr. Singh can't be today for very good, I think, health-related reasons. But we have been able to research the dental practices website and the information that's available online, publicly available online about the practice. its operating hours are 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So it will be well closed at any of the later hours, which on any view are not significantly late hours by licensed premises standards. We're also aware through that publicly available material that this is a family that lives away and well away, in fact, lives in Buckinghamshire. So the concerns appear to be expressed only about the potential late hours after the time when the practice is in fact closed. It would be my submission, I would make this submission, were Dr. Singh able to join us today, that this application, if granted, is most highly unlikely to have any direct impact at all on the operation of the dental practice, saving perhaps a degree of positive impact in that the neighbour will no longer be vacant premises, and there will be a signal uplift in the degree of natural supervision that comes from having a premises that is open and trading in your immediate proximity for some hours after your own business has closed. Madam, that is the application in a nutshell. I and of course the Shanks will do our very best to answer any further questions that have gone unanswered in the course of that application.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. Right, are there any? I don't believe there is anybody else who's wishing to speak. If that's the case, we can go to questions, please. Are there any questions from my fellow councillors?
No, I have no questions, Chair. I think that submission was very thorough.
Thank you, Councillor.
No questions from me as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, it seems like it's fairly straightforward from what I've read. And I did note the timing as well. Thank you, Sarah, for pointing that out to us. And I believe Anne Chapman has withdrawn, and Dr. Jatinder Singh is not joining us. He's made his submission, and I've noted your comments on that, Sarah. Thank you. Hetty, if our legal advisor is here, if there are no questions.
Councillor Jamu, in the absence of any representatives attending, and where we've already noted that Dr. Singh has excused himself from attending today, so you'll be relying on his written representation, which is already in the agenda pack shared with all parties. It may be that you now go to any closing. It's whether Ms. Lefevre wants to make any representations in closing before you then retire to make your decision.
Yes, that was exactly my point, but I just needed some clarification from you. Thank you very much. Right, if there are no other questions and no other concerns, then we can go out and sum up. Now, if I can invite, first of all, the responsible authorities to sum up, please. Ms. Sauer.
Councillor Jamu, there are no responsible authorities in this hearing, so the only summing up will be from the premises licence representative, Ms. Lefevre, indeed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Hetty. Thank you so much. Please, Sarah, can we sum up, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I can do that in a single sentence, I think. I would characterise this application to you as a modest application for a tiny premises within your policy made by a committed, responsible and local applicant, which has satisfied the responsible authorities and their local residential community that it is, if granted in the form that the application is made to you, unlikely to cause any negative impact to any of the licensing objectives. And that is the context against which we ask you to make your decision.
Thank you very much, Sarah. If that's the case and it's been summed up, what we're going to be doing now is that we're going to retire and make our decision. And it's now 10:47. Would it be fair to say that we deliver our decision at about 10:10? Councillors?
So you mean 10:11?
Sorry, yes, 10:11. I do beg your pardon.
That sounds fine.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much. If we can now end the live feed, please, Jack.
Yes, Chair.
And we can retire to make our decision. And if you can put everybody else into the waiting room.